Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ozzimon Library. Of course, I'm your host, the librarian, and today we have another Power Rangers video for you. And once again, I have a guest. This time round, it's a little closer to home for me personally. I have none other than Mark, also known as the Red Cornish Ranger. Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm all right.
And so today we are going to be exploring one of Mark's fan fiction audio dramas known as Power Rangers Royal Britannia. I had the pleasure of designing all 5 main Rangers involved. And so, Mark, if you will, could you just give us a brief, or as much detail as you wish, of what is Power Rangers Royal Britannia?
Well, basically, Power Rangers Royal Britannia was me branching off of creating the Red Cornish Ranger. So obviously, Cornwall is part of, it's part of England, which is also part of the United Kingdom. So it was my effort to create Rangers, exploring the different parts of the UK in its entirety. So doing an English Ranger, doing a Scottish Ranger, doing an Irish Ranger, and doing a Welsh Ranger. And it was just to develop basically a team that the Red Cornish Ranger could be a part of, being based within the UK itself.
Which, by the way, like I said before, is a fan fiction audio drama, which I'll let Mark tell you all about after. And so we're going to dive into our first Ranger, which is the English Ranger. Mark, how exactly did you come up with this character?
Well, I decided to call him Artie. Partly, yes, after King Arthur, obviously, because I quite like the mythology of King Arthur. His basic design is that has a red sort of suit with a white cross, and his helmet is kind of similar to Mark's helmet, being a red cross on a white background.
So with the Ranger design itself, like Mark said, the flag is a red cross. So I made sure I kept that with the helmet and the torso. People might be slightly confused about the red cross as like the helmet, but you'll understand as we dive in more into the video. Black sleeves, a black belt. I included a sword on the belt just to implement that. You know, some Rangers do have weapons on on their sheath somehow, whether it's a blaster or a sword or some case. I wanted to keep the black, white, and red. So as we go down to the boots, I managed to keep the boots white, but again, the legs are white too. So I implemented a white, all white with a red band on the boots just to separate them from the legs just a little bit. And of course, when it comes to the gloves, they have a red band just to separate it from the black. But there you have it. We have an English Ranger. I actually did really enjoy designing these because I'm taking something that everybody knows, flags, especially in the UK, and I'm implementing it into something that has nothing to do with flags whatsoever, being Power Rangers. So with the English Ranger done, let's dive into where I personally live. Let's dive into the Welsh Ranger.
So yeah, obviously with the Welsh Ranger, I had to think of a way to bring in the whole dragon, the red dragon that's on the flag, and the colour scheme. So the colour scheme was easy enough because obviously it's green and white, and then just simply have him with a sort of like dragon style helmet, and it also at least changed a bit of the sort of like mixture of the team, because normally the helmets are, even though they have slightly different designs, they're normally all the same sort of looking helmets, aren't they? Yeah. Within Power Rangers, but this way you could branch out a bit more and give him more of a dragon sort of style look in the helmet.
So what is the Welsh Ranger's name?
That's Jeff, or well, he was named after a Welsh after a Cornish comedian, Jeffro, but I called him Jeff, as in Jeffrey instead. But it was my homage to Jeffro, basically.
Fair enough. So yeah, with the Welsh Ranger, of course, like Mark said, it's very simple. So I managed to design the helmet in the Red Dragon sort of esque, but the Red Dragon is on a white and green background, so that's why the torso is white and green to kind of symbolize that. Black sleeves, yet again, I'm kind of trying to make them all kind of resemble each other in some way with white trousers. But this ranger does have something different. He has one green gauntlet and one white gauntlet with some spikes on it, because it is a dragon after all. And if you do actually look at the Welsh dragon, he does have some like little spikes and stuff. So I managed to keep that. And just a tiny bit of detailing. I managed to add some like implement sort of scale pattern down the legs, and the arm does have a tail wrapping around on the sleeves, a nice little pattern just to kind of symbolize the red dragon. Black boots this time round, I made sure to make a little bit different. But I think this range is the most out there when it comes to the five of them, design wise for sure. But it was definitely one of the most fun to design. So with England and Wales now having representation with obviously the English Ranger and the Welsh Ranger, of course we have to dive into everyone's favorite blue RPM Ranger sort of homage. Let's dive into the Scottish Ranger.
So yeah, so the Scottish Ranger is obviously Jordan, and this is one of the two females that's on the team. So I split the team into two males and two females, and obviously with Mark it makes three males. But hers is more simple as well, going back to the whole flag thing with this time a blue cross. Is it blue cross or
It's a white cross.
what? Right, okay, you can cut that bit out. White cross on a blue background, and obviously her suit is sort of like blue and white as well.
So with the Scottish Ranger, we kind of followed the same sort of idea with the English Ranger, making the flag its helmet and also her torso. As you can see, there is no skirt, but there's a reason for that. Because a lot of the Power Ranger teams, obviously, they are based off the Super Sentai. I understand that part, but a lot of the Power Ranger teams has one female in a skirt and one female without a skirt. So the Scottish Ranger, I know there was a perfect chance of putting her in a skirt, and it would make a lot of sense. But I wanted to go down the route of the whole. I guess you could kind of call it. It's a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Finger pointing when it comes to Scottish being a bit brawly, but I wanted to kind of implement that. So the torso and the head do follow the flag. I implemented the blue once again in her gauntlets. Her gauntlets and her gloves are actually separate, kind of giving her a bit more of a fist brawler type look. And then of course we added blue to those black boots just to separate them from the trousers there. Again, we have a black belt because I tried to make sure the Rangers had some similarities. But yeah, once again, a really easy Ranger to design, especially when it comes to the Scottish and English Rangers, because I am just taking the flag and slapping it on to a Ranger, with the Welsh Ranger obviously being a bit more stylized and a bit more unique. So then, of course, that's the three major countries in the UK, but the UK is split into four. Well, kind of. It's more like 3.5 if you want to get technical. So let's dive into the half a country that's a part of the UK. Let's dive into the Irish Ranger.
So yeah, so with the Irish Ranger, obviously, we couldn't follow too much on the flag because the Northern Ireland flag is actually near enough similar to the English flag. So instead, we took a bit of a leaf out of the rest of Ireland. So her helmet is, and the Ranger is called Samantha, or Sam for short. I think it was actually Willie that named. I feel like it was Willie that actually named the Scottish Ranger Jordan, and possibly the Irish Ranger as well. But I can't be 100% sure. But what we did with hers was her helmet is in the shape of a four-leaf clover or a shamrock, green, obviously with the colours of Ireland, and her suit is sort of a green and an orange colour as well.
Yeah, so when designing this, of course, we had to implement the four-leaf clover, so that is technically her visor, I guess you could say, with a white background. I didn't want the torso just to be green, so I added these straps going down into her belt, kind of like some ranger suits do have. This ranger does have a skirt, orange. I had to implement orange somewhere, so I matched the orange with her gauntlets with green stripes on the gauntlets, and her black boots do have a green stripe as well, just making sure there was enough green without being too much green, so that's why I kind of added the orange, and I think the orange and green really do complement each other here. Of course, black sleeves, black boots, white trousers, black belt, just like the rest of the team, making sure that I keep up with the similarities between them so they do feel like a decent team there. And yeah, there we have the four main countries of the UK, but not only that, we have the main core team of Power Rangers Royal Britannia, but of course there is one more member, which is Mark's original character. He cosplays as this person. The character's been in multiple storylines, not just Power Rangers Royal Britannia, being involved in my personal stories like Power Rangers Future Foundation and Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce. He's dived into the Power Rangers Universe 19 storylines and met the Ultra Rangers, which of course our last guest cosplay did 637 storyline. And then he's the leader of Power Rangers Global, which are mine and Mark's and Cosplay Dude storyline. So let's dive in with the main man himself, Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger.
So yeah, as probably people can guess, a lot of this inspiration for his did come off of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So obviously I like the color red, so I did go for the Red Ranger to start with. But I've always liked the idea of the shield, even the dragon, although not the flimsy American version. But the actual shield itself, I've always liked the Green Ranger one, so that's why I wanted that particular one. And as well, the having that diamond shape on the front, it was perfect for putting the Cornish flag on. So that's what the white cross with the black background is. And the helmet is, well, the helmet's actually based off of the Ninja Steel Yellow, just to get so that I can have a cross as a visor. And yeah, we did obviously the Cornish flag of the black background and the white cross. And the shield and the helmet both incorporate the other two colours of Cornwall, which is black and gold as well, which is mostly used in like the rugby team and that. But as well, what I did was the morphing cry is Kono Bisviken, which is basically Cornish for Cornwall forever. And as well, obviously, he has his own power coin that I luckily got made for me, but with the Cornish flag on it as well.
So yeah, like Mark said, we have the Cornish flag, the visor. Of course, designing this because I'm not using the template of the Ninja Steel helmet, I was able to basically just draw a flag on the helmet, which was great. I did keep, obviously, he wanted the golden shield, but this time round we do have the flag right in the middle there as well, kind of giving him like a nice big kind of, well, I guess you could say it's also a target for the bad guys,
Yes.
but it's a nice emblem there for Mark as well. And of course, like he said, wanted a Red Ranger, but he wanted me to implement the gold. So the shield, the gauntlets, the belt this time round, and the bands on the boots do heavily imply the gold. So there's a nice mixture of gold and red, with the white only being the highlight of the gloves and boots. This time round, this is actually one of the best Rangers I think I've designed, and this is the only Ranger out of the 5 that has his belt buckle being his morpher. You can see there as well that there is the Mighty Morphin-esque type Ranger belt buckle with a Cornish symbol in the middle. And I think when it comes to Mark's, the Red Cornish Ranger's design, I think definitely is the better one out of the 5 when it comes to my personal artwork. And it was a pleasure and, of course, a privilege to design the Red Cornish Ranger.
Yep.
So, with that being said, of course, there are 5 Rangers that we have. This is Power Rangers Royal Britannia. Mark, do you want to tell people where people can actually listen to the storylines where these particular Rangers are going to be featured in?
Well, they have appeared on my main podcast of Nerds Through Comics, but I've got a secondary podcast called The Adventures of the Red Cornish Ranger and Universe 20, which is where you can listen to the full storyline of both the Red Cornish Ranger and Universe 20 in order. And it doesn't start off with the Royal Britannia Rangers, but they have a 5-part storyline, which involves their origins and unfortunate demise. But there is plans for future stories. That's all I'm going to say on that.
And yeah, of course, definitely check out that podcast because you'll also find storylines with Mark the Cornish Ranger diving into all sorts of shenanigans, not just the Royal Britannia storylines. And it also does host some of my storylines involved too, because I do have characters and stories delving into Universe 20. With that being said, of course, check Mark the Red Cornish Ranger on TikTok because you'll see his full-blown cosplay as well, which is awesome. It is one of the best cosplay he has, but you'll also find some other characters that he's kind of taken inspiration and made them into like a Cornish-esque version of that he's working on, so definitely check out his TikTok. But that being said, thank you, Mark, for coming on and explaining the Power Rangers Royal Britannia. It's been a blast.
No worries. Always great to be here.
And of course, thank you guys for tuning in. I will dive back into the Ozzimon explanation videos real soon. I just had to get this video done. I actually drew these 3 years ago.
Something like that, yeah. It's been a while. It has.
it's been a trek.
Thank you. The whole saga of the Red Cornish Ranger has been in development for so long now. I'm finally glad I'm catching up with it.
Yes, that is true. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Don't forget to roar with passion, everybody. Let us know in the comments down below what you guys think of the Power Rangers Royal Britannia members and which one was your favourite. And of course, if you're from the UK, let us know which Ranger you would fall under particularly. That'd be really cool. And of course, I love you all, and I shall see you guys in the next one.